So, thank you, everybody. Good morning, and thank you for joining us in this first edition of Digital Hollywood fully online. Um, my name is Bill Newell, and I'll be your moderator today. I'm the CEO of Sparksworks Inc., a company focused on AR. Today, we're going to talk about immersive XR, immersive retail, advertisement, branding strategies, and basically, we're going to talk about um, what is new under this new world that we live in. First, I want to thank Victor Harwood for putting together this conference and allowing us an opportunity to engage with you in this new normal. And so this is obviously not going to be a usual session as the XR world, as the entire world has changed drastically. So we're going to have to talk about where we are and the steps that we're taking to leverage XR as a force in recovering the economy. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. We have a terrific session for you today, and let's meet our panel. So we'll start with Silke.
Hi there. Well, thank you, Billy. It's a pleasure to see you virtually as well as in real life. Same thanks go to Victor, and of course, also very delighted to be on this panel with folks that have a lot of great stories to share. My name is Silky Meixner. I'm a digital strategy partner with IBM. Digital Strategy Group, as you can imagine, is at the forefront of a lot of the technology innovations, including AR, VR, XR. We love to talk about the ways technology impacts people's lives. And now more than ever, this is going to be a very interesting conversation to be had. Very pleased to try this out in this forum. What is better than actually making technology useful? So looking forward to a very good conversation and dialogue, hopefully, with our audience.
It'll be a full dialogue, Silke. Don't worry about it. Tony.
Hi, Tony Parisi, Unity. I'm head of AR and VR advertising innovation. I oversee everything we're doing with our software tools and our mobile advertising platform, which has massive global reach to help brands tell their stories in new ways with XR, in particular, mostly focused on AR on devices, where we have scale to reach people with brand messages there, though I spend still a fair amount of time looking at other formats like virtual reality and what we can do with deep engagement, if not massive scale, and sort of work across the company. Again, focus on our advertising initiatives, but across the company around how AR can help tell brand stories.
Thank you, Tony. Oliver, last but not least. Why are you always so far apart? When we talk together, you sit in the farthest place. What's going on?
I know. I think you do that on purpose, both in real life and virtual. I don't know what's going on there. Hey, everybody. My name is Oliver. I'm the founder and managing director of Media Monks Los Angeles. Media Monks is a global creative production agency, and we've been delivering the highest quality content at scale across what I call the modern marketing mix for some of the larger brands out there. We've been doing it for 2 decades. On a global scale, and we've been very bullish when it comes to mixed reality in general, and helping brands try new things and try expand and find new ways to reach their audiences in today's day and age. Incredibly excited to be here, and thanks everyone for joining us today.
All right, thank you, Oliver. Thanks to the three of you. So clearly, it's impossible to not acknowledge that all of our lives have changed for the past 60 days approximately. And in talking to you guys, one of the first things that I realized that I wasn't the only one going through is that our own businesses already had to shift in order to eventually get back in control and go back in the direction that we were going a couple months ago. So I want to start there. And Tony, since you talk to a lot of people in not just in XR, but in a variety of ways by virtue of what Unity does, I want to get started with how this pandemic has affect your plans and how you approach your customers? Perhaps starting with, 60 days ago, it was bright, sunny, everything was good, and then this. So
Yeah, I mean, boy, it's been a massive set of small effects, clearly, outside of everything we all have had to do to adjust to the day to day. Once we kind of got into that rhythm of like, do I need a standing desk at home? All those things you have to deal with. Those are intense. We took a look up, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, and we started looking at numbers. And we looked, so we have Unity has two major lines of business. It's a little more complicated than that, but effectively we have our creation software, the Unity engine that most people know about, that is used to make mobile games, AR/VR content, and so on. It's being used more and more in different industries, and then we can get into that in a little bit. And then there's our monetization platform, which is an advertising platform that helps primarily our game publishers and app publishers make money on mobile. Well, something interesting really happened, which is our business started really spiking up. There's a lot of people who are hurting in the world right now, and so we're super sensitive to that. It's a really kind of unpleasant and crazy time generally. But what we're seeing is, of course, because people are sheltering at home, they are playing a lot of games. And so game publishers who want to acquire users and still have the money to spend are spending it on advertising. Game developers who are fine financially are investing in the next wave of games. And once they've set up their operations at home, they're just building in a different way. So our business generally is doing okay. That said, when you have millions of developers like Unity does, there are hundreds of different types of situations happening. There's all different kinds of cases. So there are small developers who may be in a pinch financially right now. There are people who want to learn. We offered all our learning tools for free for 3 months because of this right now, Unity Learn. There are the big shops who are more or less fine. There are some folks who may have problems paying their bills. I mean, it is all over the place right now. And so while we've seen a temporary spike in usage and advertising revenue, we're also well aware that this could impact our business globally in a few negative ways as well. So we're just being mindful of all that. And it is an incredibly complicated pastiche to get through all of that. And that's just for the game industry. Then when you look at our industrial customers in different segments like automotive and architecture and the creative industry, that's all over the place. And finally, what's nearest and dearest to my heart is brand advertising. I can't wait to hear what Oliver has to say about all this in particular. But brand advertising is in a bit of doldrums right now, at least in many of the sectors. I mean, let's take travel for an example. Clearly taking an incredible hit right now, unfortunately for our daily lives as well, right? So we're looking at our brand advertising business, which is a small piece of our overall business, which is about advertising games primarily, and wondering what's next. Do we do less on kind of impression-based advertising and more on performance stuff, for example? These are things we're evaluating because advertisers will still spend if they can sell something directly to you or acquire a user, right? This is on, again, brand side versus game publishing. So interesting time all around. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, thank you, Tony. And actually, since you mentioned it, let's go right to Oliver, and we'll save Silky for last. So, Oliver, clearly, when we spoke last time, your business, like everybody else's, was affected, and some things became more important than others. So, can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, definitely. So first, taking a quick glance on what we've seen, I think it starts with where I'm positioned in Venice, in the creative heart of LA, Content City, and what we've seen at first is, like Tony mentioned, these are challenging times for all, and let's not ignore that. And we've seen a lot of incredibly talented companies and organizations just not being able to make it, which is very painful and unfortunate. And I think same for us. We've luckily been in a position similar to Tony that we've been able to we've been on the good side of the coin, so to speak. We are a global creative production agency and innovation partner to many larger companies out there. So we've been able to help them and support them and when it comes to getting through these challenging times. And I think just to throw it out there, the next 2 years will be difficult. In the best case scenario, we'll see an uplift in several months from now, probably like a Q4 end of this year, but most likely only mid 2021, where we'll see or go back to at least some sort of a level or extent where we're all kind of comfortable with. And up until then, I think we've seen two things. On the one hand, we've seen companies, gonna throw a metaphor here, the deer in the headlight, where we see a lot of companies kind of like have freeze, and that is very normal. This is crisis. This is not a normal thing that is happening. But then on the one hand we see that, and on the other hand we see companies that kind of embrace it and try and be try and work with what's going on, because the reality is people will work from home for the next unforeseeable future. People will be spending more time behind screens and machines than ever before. People will not be able to spend or consume content in their usual way. So I think we all have to embrace that. And what we've been doing is kind of, by understanding disruption, supporting our clients with short-term solves as well as long-term strategies, helping them on the one hand reallocate their budgets and focus on different types of media and marketing, to kind of help drive results. I think right now we need to focus on purpose-driven campaigns, and there are many ways that we can do that, which I'll say for later in the call. But yeah, these are things that we've been seeing.
Okay, that's good. That helped us set up the stage. And last but not least, Silke, you have an interesting perspective, because your normal job is to consult and help people come up with strategies to move into the digital arena, which I imagine now has an exclamation point on top of it. Mm-hmm. So how about you? How did the pandemic affect you, and how did it change things? How does IBM react to the new normal, as Oliver and Tony were sharing with us?
Yeah, no, I listened to a lot of what Tony and Oliver mentioned, and you also. It's reflected in that sense in our ecosystem around it. So a couple of things that I noticed as all of us were, starting to make sense of what is the new normal. I think even 60 days ago, that word new normal didn't mean anything yet. We didn't even know the time horizon. So about three things that I noticed were kind of the common themes across. So number one is very quickly, safety first. So the health and wellness of all employees in the organization was pivotal to make sure everybody is indeed able to shelter at home, that resources were made available when there was maybe, the need for better connectivity or even access to healthcare. Once that was established, the conversation very quickly within our leadership team shifted towards, okay, what can we do right now for our organization, of course, but for our clients that will help anticipate where the journey is going? Because I don't think we all are guessing. At best we plan scenarios. So we talked and looked a lot at the shape of the recovery. Will it be a V shape? Will it be an L shape? Will it be a U? So you can name the letters of the alphabet, but the idea is to be ready to move into different scenarios for our clients as well as for ourselves. And so very quickly it became clear that to think about it in increments of time helped us and helped our clients plan. So what I mean by that is, what can you do right now as the pandemic hit in the 30 days ahead of us? What are the moments where many of our companies are doing triage? So a lot of opportunities and quite frankly, just moments where you need to jump in came from virtualization of a workforce where maybe before they weren't really equipped to work from home. Many of our clients had call centers that could be virtualized, but weren't. And so being able to jump in and accelerate that path. Then about 60 to 90 days, that's the time period we're in right now, where news are emerging. We can see which sectors are doing better versus others. So how can you help across that portfolio? And then the longer range, which is about 90, 180 days plus. These horizons plan to make sure that whatever technology investments and acceleration is happening, and that exclamation mark is real, Billy. It is an exclamation to digital transformation. what can we do to help plan that strategically? So by applying the three time horizons, we were able to at least add value quickly. IBM, as many other companies, and everybody in their own right, has made technology accessible free of charge, has helped connect the dots on, for example, the research that goes into, finding drug components that ultimately will hopefully be making a contribution to a cure or a vaccine. So I would say that all of this is on the side. We're in this together. It is the clients and it's us. It's not, it's one ecosystem. And on a personal note, I found acknowledging that we are in unprecedented times and acknowledging that everybody is doing the best they can is a big component of that. Technology is nothing without the human component behind it.
Can I just jump in there?
Please go ahead, Tony.
So personally, Silke, I think it's going to be a W. This isn't Unity's policy. This is my point of view. If you're picking a letter of the alphabet, we're going to have an apparent climb out, and because of all the uneven testing and responses domestically and internationally, a lot of people are saying a W. So that's the one I'm just assuming is going to happen, that we're going to have some early nice little climb out, into the summer, and then there's going to be one more event that pulls us all back. So that's what I'm expecting personally.
Yeah, and it might be well the case that it is a couple of W's, right? There's sprints that we're now looking at that mean that we learn with each wave, and hopefully the learnings become faster and more effective. But yeah, the W seems the letter that a lot of us are thinking about when we're thinking about the path ahead. Agree with
Isn't there a Dutch letter that's like a couple of W's strung together, Oliver?
That would be incredible. I think we're working with the same ones, but again, I think I agree, and some things that we've been throwing out there is the reverse square root, the W, the V. Definitely, we'll see what happens. I think right now, and echoing what you guys have said, I think what's important right now is definitely look at that longer term in the three phases. I love how you break that out, Silke. I think that's extremely smart. I think it's also it's embracing the now, and especially if you need to drive value fast. I think a focus on purpose-driven campaigns will help get you through what's happening right now, and be flexible, because that allows for you to, when we go back up in that second W or V or L or whatever that might be, you'll be ready for it. So I think that's important.
So this is great. This is a great way to start, because one of the things that comes to mind when we talk about technology, definitely XR and other technologies are going to be part of the solution to reactivate the economy. But for us who have been working either with AR or VR or both, or artificial intelligence and the more avant-garde, kind of technologies, I think that we all recognize that in order to reactivate the economy, we kind of have to take a step back and help businesses become viable again before we can think of XR, right? So, for example, in our case, we have to put more of our resources to help people just to have a presence online, just to be able to do distant learning, just to be able to communicate or coordinate work. Because one of the things that the pandemic has highlighted is that our infrastructure is woefully inadequate for modern times. And as Tony started to say, and you, Silke, and you, Oliver, we are going to experience up and downs. This is not just a one and done and gone. So I think that smart businesses are going to plan for the long run. And as you said, in stages, right? So for us, the first thing that we have to do is really help our clients to be able to get back into business before we can talk about avatars and 3D capturing and all of those things. So I'm curious, so now that we know this is here to go, that we need to rely more on technology, distant learning, the concept of the connected worker, and other things that we have talked in the past, what are the things that you guys see jumping up front on this now day 60, and everybody is in some capacity thinking of reopening, which involves two things, right? It involves physical safety measures, right? Mask, glove, shield, whatever, right? And how to use technology smartly to avoid human contact and facilitate transactions of all kinds. So I'm curious to hear how you guys see now, hypothetic day 61. What are the things that we can do to help reactivate businesses, the technologies to focus that may lead into XR, to have a clear path and to be very transparent with our audience. On this, Silke, since you gave us the three stages, I'll start with you.
Thank you. Yes, it's a great question, Billy. The maybe I like things in threes, but what comes to mind is ultimately, yeah, it's three areas of focus that I've noticed our clients are either seeking out or we can bring to our clients. And I think for Oliver, Tony, for my business, it holds true. There's the growth engine. And Billy, you're mentioning, pick yourselves up, get up of the ground. That's not that easy when, half your workforce isn't currently there, or companies had to make tough choices to furlough people, etc. But the idea of the growth engine and how to generate revenue again becomes usually the primary driver. So if the companies that we work with have had the ability to keep their core business running, virtualization often becomes a conduit to make it easier for the staff of the organization to do their job and do it really well. And then to, of course, relate back to the customer. So both in the B2B and B2C setting, that has been the idea. What technology, and specifically virtual reality, augmented reality, helps our staff to become more effective? So one example is large retailers had to make tough choices to close 80 to 90 to sometimes 100% of their stores. Those who kept the stores open at a 10 to 20% rate, they had to very quickly get better technology into the hands of their employees to access stock information, to be more flexible, to actually take on what was this influx now of people that were normally, trickling in over, a spread of dozens of more locations. So not all of it was necessarily virtual reality, but the ability to faster access the data, and in some cases to look at even the supply chain and make sense, of what is happening, how they could keep up demand and supply curves, was number one. So I would put that into the growth bucket. Then you have the reality of cost optimization or cost savings, and really how to also work smarter with the money or the budget that you have on hand. And so traditionally in the manufacturing space, you already had ways to use virtual reality, augmented reality to do, for example, the remote viewing of a manufacturing site. So you wouldn't necessarily have to have the same intensity of staff on the ground if you were able to virtually monitor quality and service levels. And then cost optimization goes a lot broader than that, but that's just one example. And last but not least is the bucket, and I don't know how else to put it, but it's becoming more resilient and becoming set up for the future that is the new normal. So when you mentioned, for example, Billy, the learning and long distance story, telemedicine as well as long distance learning or virtual learning was a nice to have, or a, ooh, cool, let's have it on our digital roadmap kind of endeavor for some organization, and in some cases the government. Now it becomes a necessity. So whatever we can do to help what is already the accelerated path and make smart and strategic choices now that we know will be here to stay. I think that's the picture. So again, maybe I like the three buckets, but it's growth, the cost savings, cost optimization, and then the resiliency and having a more flexible and new digital organization is very much where the cases of virtual and augmented reality are already playing, or they're going to become even more prominent.
Mm-hmm.
And I just jump in and just say the way you framed it there, Bill, it's I don't think any of us are looking at any of the XR that we're talking about as luxurious or nice to have. We are now right in the center of places, as Silke just sort of intimated, that there's some places where the remote aspects of what we're doing, and supporting that with new tech is absolutely essential. And there's places where XR can be super instrumental in that now. It's not a future thing. And we were already seeing some of those trends. For most of what I'm focused on is the downstream use cases. So it is about the shopping and the advertising. All of those things continue now. I don't know about you, but I'm buying everything on my phone now. I'm not really going into even grocery stores if I don't have to. So clearly that's going to continue, and that's going to ratchet to a place where it never goes back to the way it was. And so this time, when it comes to consumer behavior, will clearly be well serviced by some aspects of XR. And we're going to find out which ones are more useful than others. If they could ever keep Oculus Quests in stock, we would also see what this would mean for in-home VR for all of these consumer use cases. And so I heard they're online in stock again. That'll probably last just today. And so they can't make them fast enough. This would have been a wonderful time otherwise for VR adoption, if you want to look at any silver linings. But in any case, we can do AR and VR, AR stuff rather, on our phones and our tablets without fancy devices. So at a baseline, we can see what those use cases are. But beyond that, we may even see more. And I'd love to hear what the other panelists think about this. And maybe I'm reaching too far, you guys, but when I see things like the mirror come online for sale now and other things where people are buying home equipment, I'm sure Peloton sales are going up. Will people not over the next couple of years buy even more cool advanced tech, whether it's VR or display mirrors that come around or new, Connect devices? Aren't we going to try all of these things? Because most of our budget can go to buying these things we bring into the home over the next year. I know people are also, kind of hunkering down and saving money, but I see all those things in a continuum right now. And so all the trends we were seeing that had some nice to haves around XR, especially for the remote work stuff, they're now becoming essential. I mean, we're going to try everything. We're going to try all these Zoom conferences. We will try in VR, meetings. We're going to try all of this right now because we're going to get fatigued at this thumbnail view real soon. So we're going to try virtual world meetings too. So I think we've opened up a time over the next, I don't know, Oliver, you think it's probably a year to two, like you're saying, where I think we're going to see experimentation like this and some things are really going to stick. So I don't have nice clean buckets the way you do, Silka, but I see a lot of these trends accelerating right now. I wish I could make as much sense of it as you did. That was really lucid. For me, I just see a morass of lots of things being attempted all at once.
Yeah, I think you bring a good point, and I want to see what Oliver can add to this part of the conversation, because we are going to have to try things, and not everything is going to work. So we're going to have to figure out by trial and error how technology can really assist, right? To just begin to recast some of the businesses like retail, but then it's going to move into other things. So Oliver, in terms of what we're talking about now, and Tony mentioned, for example, people having trouble paying bills or having to offer licenses with some, which I'm doing the same. I have to give our SDK, with 6 months free so that I can literally help somebody to get up and be able to use the technology for a much more practical use than it was originally intended. So, but Oliver, what are your thoughts in terms of where you're starting? Where is it that you're seeing where to help people, and the new metaphors, because there's so many industries that are devastated. There's really, it's like, where do we start, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. So it very much depends with the vertical or the industry that you're in. But I think there is a holistic take on it that everyone could consider. And I think it starts with looking at it from a hyper current cultural lens, so to speak. And I think this is it. And what are the things that we can do to keep our heads up? And Silke, I do appreciate your breakdown there. It definitely starts with growth, and I think what helps there to make it a little bit more tactical for some of the attendees potentially is, as a brand, you might want to start reconsider your media plan because of all the things that Tony also outlined. Plan for more digital production outputs because everyone will be working from home. But also as a brand, you probably want to keep an eye on your tone of voice. I saw this video on YouTube, I think the other day. What is it, like kind of all the days are blending in together, which is a downside of this whole COVID thing. I'm not sure if it's Monday or Thursday, but there's this video out there where we see incredible brands that are reasonably innovative, have a very single and similar tonality. You can Google it. It's interesting. The COVID responsive brands, but it's all the same. And you don't want to be too opportunistic, and you want to keep an eye on it, I think, and that's what's important. And then so another thing to consider is the fact that budgets are compressing or at least stalling until next year, and campaigns are being killed or stalled. It's more important than ever then to focus on dynamic creative, allowing for reuse of content, allowing for flexibility, and be able to message related to a country's place on the COVID curve, right? So I think that is vital. And then some of the other things that we've been implementing for brands is make it more purposeful and focus on the growth aspect to really keep the lights on, so to speak, is helping to transform their digital experience, because clearly that's where it's there right now. That's where it's at right now. And four things there is one, fast e-com solutions. I think it's super important to consider new ways to reach your audience, whether it be direct to consumer play that you have not implemented before, or whether it be other ways. Could be leveraging social commerce or anything like that. Secondly, what's also super interesting is producing fit for format content that converts. I think we all talked about it already, but purpose-driven content that is highly tactical and it really leverages the platform that it's on. Don't go try and create content that is not optimized for these specific platforms and channels, because it will not resonate. The third one is amplify and sell through social, something that I mentioned earlier. And the fourth one is data-driven conversion. I think now with the confluence of digital and physical, we actually have this ability to leverage data in ways that we've never had before, to really understand where a consumer is at in their journey, and really have that work for us to try and see if we can convert them into whatever KPI we have set for them. So these are more tactical things coming out of the things that Tony and Silk mentioned earlier.
Another factor here, Bill, tying what Oliver's talking about to what Silka said earlier. Do you guys know that Walmart surpassed Amazon as the top shopping app in the App Store a few weeks back? I don't know if you caught that. And it's all because of their abilities to deliver, their supply chain and logistics capabilities, which, I mean, that's shocking to me that was something Amazon could not keep up with. I mean, obviously the demand is massive right now, but that is telling that Walmart's abilities there have enabled them to, be a rising place where people are shopping. And not because of maybe brand loyalty, but because I can get this now, not in 16 days, or whatever that number is, right? Oh, and by the way, wasn't everybody talking about same day or in delivery within 2 hours, just like 2 months ago? You remember those conversations? That's like another universe, a different timeline, right? But anyway, yeah. So that all speaks to, we need to have better supply chain and logistics, and some of the stuff that Silka was talking about earlier. There's a whole back end of this, upstream of all the consumer aspects, where we need to be able to deliver this faster. And I'm sure there are all kinds of ways that XR can help with that as well. So both, we need to bring these trends together, right? They need to be able to shop right here without going anywhere. They need to tell a sensitive brand message that Oliver was talking about, but they need to actually be able to deliver on it.
So and that brings something really interesting, Tony, because you're right. The first thing is commerce has to be reactivated, and how that is. I think the different technologies are going to play a role, because we're all buying remotely. Like you, I'm buying everything with this for the most part. I really go to the store if I have to. And we can expect this to be the norm for the foreseeable future, because in winter we may experience a spike and people are going to get scared again. So it doesn't matter really if the restaurants are going to open if the patrons are scared about going into the restaurant. So we need to figure out between real life measures and technology, how we can move forward. So let's start there, Tony, because you said something that is really important. So in retail, and I'll start with what is happening to me. We are not trying to put dragons on buildings anymore. We're actually focused on very effective use, for example, of AR in the context of retail, so that we can provide you information without you having to search or talk face to face with a person. So it's a much less sexy, more pedestrian use of AR, but it's a very effective use of AR. But that has to be accompanied by other measures of how you get people to the store. Do you have a virtual experience first at home, and you choose your clothes and what you want to try, and then we have them all ready for you at the store, and basically the store becomes more like a giant tryout room, with people that are more as, instead of sales, valets that bring you your stuff that you already pre-order. So it's an interesting world, and I don't know if any of these things are going to work or not, but I'm curious to see from the Unity perspective, what early signs are you seeing of things that people are trying to do to get back on business under clearly new scenario?
Who wants to go first there? I mean, there's so much to this. I've seen, I've spent a lot of time looking at retail across this entire life cycle. And you mentioned the one thing, Bill, about sort of the virtual showroom. Like, now you can have basically showrooms or these empty places that have effectively infinite virtual catalogs and a lot less stuff in stock, because you don't want anybody touching things, right? And you can also bring those into the home. That is just one of the many pieces of the pipeline that, there's all these little tips of the icebergs of XR experimentation that have been happening across the pipeline. And you just brought that one up. So I don't know. I come back to this other point, and just to stay general about it. I'm hoping either Silky or Oliver actually have some hands-on experience with customers here. But my point being that all of those experiments and sort of early trends we were seeing are rapidly coming together. There's every need. It's all about utility right now. It's all about cost savings right now. It's all about results right now. We don't have the luxury of being too fanciful and forward thinking about this. We're really much in the now.
I agree with you, Tony. I think the concept that you're referencing of it has to be value driven, or you have to see the value, and to use the term that I think many of us know from technology is a proof of concept, right? It is, or proof of value, POC or POV. That has to be the moment and at which we apply it. And so in the past, I noticed we were bringing this idea of iterative and quick and fast, and try something. If it doesn't work, it's okay. Not all clients, not all industries are as familiar with it, but now it is a comfort level that people say, all right, I have nothing else, so let's give this a shot. And lo and behold, that idea of making the dressing room actually a virtual one, and having a new concept introduced. Why not now, right? If it doesn't work, you can dismiss it. It can be a small investment, but having these incremental proof of concepts or proof of value moments from which you learn, I think, are pivotal. And then I heard Oliver say something that I know we talked about on past panels that I think all of us are adhering to. It's the idea of the customer or consumer journey, that these touch points along the way, we understand what adds value to the consumer at each moment in time, and where as a brand I can maybe be more purposeful. So Oliver, I think that concept of consumer journey must be front and center of how you create value.
Very often it is, because it's more important than considering AR, XR, MR, anything at all. The marketing mix or the tooling is expanding for marketers. CMOs need to be pivotal in their thinking when it comes to new technology, and now with COVID, everything accelerates. So that's definitely one. But through that larger bag of tools that they now have, the customer decision journey becomes more fragmented. I think on average, before a consumer moves to conversion or purchase, he touches 11.4 moments in time with that brand across the entire modern market. right? Across the entire customization journey. And that's an incredible amount. So you want to be there, but be there in a relevant manner. So yes, I couldn't agree more. And then the other thing, to go for what both of you said, as well as the question, Bill, that you teed up, I think one thing that you don't want to do is oh, now I have to jump on that bandwagon as well. You want to truly embrace it. Transitioning offline events to offline world isn't a one-on-one match. And I know it sounds obvious, but that's how a lot of people approach it. It requires smart thinking to achieve the same, if not better, ROI. So, like you mentioned, and leverage the full value of digital first. I mean, there's so much things you can do around interactivity, around data, around scalability, around content, around conversion. These are all things that are now, you have so much power through digital that you want to consider leveraging. I think it's neglecting for a sec that these are horrible times. There's also a very positive upside on it in terms of the enhancements, I think, in the acceleration of the digital transformation in general, which is a very much overused word, I know, but yeah.
Still happening, though, it's true.
But it's happening, and faster than ever. But you all raise really good points. But I would say, in listening to you, one of the things that first come to mind is that the first thing I think that we have to address in the new consumer or customer journey will be safety. Because I don't think that anybody's going to go to a store or try VR, a VR headset or an AR headset for that matter, without.
Yeah, no one's going to be putting those things on their faces.
In a public place, forget it. In your home, yes, but outside, can you imagine? It's
the face shield in front of it. It's the 2-in-1 combo.
Yeah.
Right.
I like
so
that.
Those are some realities, right? Before people are going to be warm to that, we're going to have to take baby steps by using technologies and ways. Actually, I will even take a step back. I am sure you guys have noticed over the past 60 days that most people don't really even know how to use tools to do what we're doing right now, just talking. I'm sure you have seen hilarious videos online of people doing, no, push this, or like getting this close to the screen and whatnot. So I think that baby steps include first a campaign of letting people know what's available and how to use it, because there are tools that we can leverage and they're not that hard to use. And maybe we think it's not that hard to use because we do it all the time and we work from home and it's like, what's the big deal? But most people do not. So I'm curious, what tips do you have for people, the workforce that is now preparing to work in a different way than ever before? They're not going to be going to one place where we're all going to be together. They're going to be working completely decentralized. What tips can you guys share with the audience in terms of what it takes to organize people that way? Because if these things don't get solved, there is not going to be an XR or a VR or anything else. We have to solve the most basic things now.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I don't know about you guys in your different sized organizations. Unity is about 4,000 people-ish, upper threes, I think now. I've lost track. And, we have 20 plus offices worldwide, a lot of different cultures under one roof. And we're still trying to figure it out in every office. We have a great C-suite, and we call our crisis management team figuring it out as we go and doing a lot of messaging. But when it comes to personal work styles, it's all over the place. And yeah, like you said, we're already used to doing remote work. We're pretty tech savvy. And I got to tell you, I've been discovering I have a personal limit of how many video calls I can do a day. Maybe 4 hours worth of spread out. I need to, you need to time in a certain way. There's time management. I'm going through twice as much coffee. When am I making it? Like, there's all these like mundane things that you take for granted when you're in an office that are now consuming, you would think, oh, I have 2 extra hours every day. I'm not commuting, right? It doesn't feel like that to me. So I think there's time management, there's lifestyle, there's the work-life balance that take on a whole new meaning because the structure of our day has changed radically. If we weren't already, full-time work from home. And even if you're full-time work from home, I have a feeling it's probably changed for full-time work from home people too, that have been doing this previously. Yeah. That's my take.
And
Yes.
Tony, I see myself in many of your words. I'm sure others do as well. Yeah, the whole back-to-back nature of days has just exponentially increased. There are, interestingly, when you thought, and I know Billy, you and I had a conversation about you thought that you cut the commute time, but somehow the day just becomes longer. That's the truth. One thing that was very humbling that your question triggered was I had an aha moment just a few weeks ago. And talking about the different velocity of technologies in organizations, we were so grateful for a wonderful client. We were excited because they were California based, and we were so excited to be on the ground, the team that could. We had met them before in person, and then, shelter at home took place, and they kindly and, very energetically said, we will do this remote. Please work with us and make this easy on us. And so we, again, as you said, Billy and Tony, we were quite used from, work from home and, at least part-time remote. For the team, it wasn't a big deal, but for the client, we had to at least take stock of what they were comfortable with. And it wasn't the high-flying, virtual whiteboarding. And we had a lot of tools that we thought were like brilliant to bring to the table, and Mural and Slack and this and that. I'm not plugging any, but I'm just saying, but the client was saying, wonderful, love your enthusiasm. Can you just keep that a little bit more to our pace? We like video conferencing, but we're not comfortable to be shown on all of them. We do like to pre-read stuff, so make sure that it's not all live. We can actually absorb it beforehand. And your online voting system, it's okay for just us to send you an email. And we took that moment of, oh, wow, okay. So we have to make sure we go at the pace of the individuals. Just because there is beautiful technology out there doesn't mean you gotta throw everything all at once. And I think that's what I heard Tony say. I know, Billy, you're having very innovative ways how you let people explore your technology, for example. I think these increments are great. And as we're going in increments, there will be a comfort level. My personal non-scientific belief is that about two months down the line, this is going to be the new normal, and we will yearn still. And I hope there will be a time when we have our in-person meetings again, because there's a quality to that as well. But it will forever become another tool in our arsenal. And if anything, we're adding those that make sense in our work environments. What do you
Thank
think?
you, Silky. Oliver, you want to add something to that? Because I know you have, like me, clients that in various stages of digital savviness. So I'm curious of how the curve is going for you, because for us, it's a little, as you guys are saying, we have to start with the basics, right? Like let's help people, coach them on how to communicate and collaborate, and then we can take another step. How about you, Oliver? What's your experience been?
Yeah, for every client is very, very diverse, and we've provided them with virtual workshop solutions as well, leveraging different set of tools for different moments that allows for us to get to a result effectively and efficiently. I think it starts with your original question around how are you adopting, and I think what we've been doing on a global scale is well, first things first, safety first, huh? like we all mentioned already. It starts with safety and adhering to the orders that are provided to us. And noticeable is that for each corner of the world that we're in, similar to Tony and Silky, we have offices across the globe. Is that it depends on the region that you're in, whether we're already slowly start looking to moving back to work, or whether it's postponed to until the unforeseeable future, etc., etc. Either way, it got me thinking around, and this is my personal opinion, around how to optimize your workday, because it's been challenging pre-COVID as well, but it's now more relevant than ever. And I think start by looking at your responsibility and try and see if you can map that against a personal mindset you can find yourself in, and then connect that to what I call a workspace instead of a workplace, where you optimize not only your software and hardware, but also the environment that you can find yourself in to really be productive. It's a super interesting, very simple model to think about how you go about things, whether it be, hey, I'm doing my morning, I'm the most creative, so I won't be taking calls in the morning, but doing it in the afternoon. And I think COVID allows or provides the flexibility to think in that way and actually manage your own time better. And I think it's an interesting thing that is happening and evolving right now, and something that we, as well as other companies, assume still solving right now. So very interesting and connected to what we call the future of work, leveraging what's ahead of the curve. Things like AI and new tooling is going to be extremely exciting. So yeah, I think Tony mentioned it at the first minute of this call. Right now we're doing a the video conference. Curious what we'll be doing in 6 months from now, if not 6 days. We'll see.
Yeah. So we have approximately 14 more minutes. So I want to give you each a chance to talk a little bit about what's coming. So, or what your approach is at this point as the economy is starting to get reactivated. And I'll start. For us, for me, frankly, everything right now starts with empathy. I think we cannot forget how many people are unemployed, businesses that have been lost, and all of that. So I think this is not normal sales. I think that we need to sell responsibly, and we need to see how to help other people restart businesses. And I think that's really the right recipe to move forward. So you guys work for three very prominent businesses in different areas of tech and marketing and publishing and advertising. So let's say the next 2 months, the next 3 months, or perhaps between now and the end of the year, what are the things or the steps or the things that we can do to reactivate businesses, where how or what parts of your enterprises they might be able to contact to seek services that can help them. So I think it's an important part because most of the audience has been interested or involved with XR, and so they're probably like us, trying to find a way to reactivate their business and make sure that they are healthy moving forward. So I'm curious what you guys think. What are the next steps? We'll start with Silky, ladies first.
All right. Yeah. Oh, that was a good one, Billy. The empathy. I think that resonates for all of us, because what are we if we don't have the ability to relate to one another? And I'm going to expand on that a little bit. So empathy and the ability to take a moment of crisis and actually take, however hard it is, the learning out of it, right? I do not want to diminish the tragedy, the human tragedy, the loss of life, of health, of your livelihood, of your job, of your value system. That is unprecedented, at least in my lifetime, maybe in all of our lifetimes. So if we can't pause for a moment, and while all of us are hopefully, embedded in systems where we can reach out, we can seek help. It's not a given for everybody. So empathy is the overruling word. I would subscribe to that right away, Billy. I know that a lot of things that you're doing is with this empathy in mind, of how you make your technology accessible to clients. It also expands into ways that make me very proud to be part of a larger ecosystem of colleagues such as yours, and at IBM's level, the ability to reach out on a very large scale. So just to mention, I mentioned earlier, there's, AI and cognitive enabled research projects. There's the call for code that has already been going on for a while, but that is opening up for developers to become part of a larger group, developing, new applications. Many of them are now in service of really, the COVID crisis. And then actually something that I was amazed and so humbled and happy that IBM as a firm could offer, and I was a bit a part of it, was the Think conference. It's an annual conference that IBM puts up, and used to be all, downtown San Francisco, Tony, in your neck of the woods. It was coming together. It was technology enthusiast clients celebrating technology innovations, including, of course, in AR, VR, XR, AI, all of that. It had to be rethought, our Think conference, and it became all virtual. And not only that, it became all free. And so similar to, part of Digital Hollywood, where this is now extended to a much broader audience, it was wonderful to see how those luminaries, will.i.am, Amal Clooney, our new CEO, Arvind Krishna, everybody had a chance to bring them literally into the living room. It brought a human face to the technology. It made it real in a way that maybe others didn't have access to before. I personally got very energized that I was part of this. And again, the whole entire ecosystem made that happen. But more opportunities like that I've seen all across different business units. So if you're the person, audience, who finds that little something that you yourself or your company or your ecosystem can do, bring it out there, because this is a time that allows us to just get in touch a little bit more with the empathy that Billy was talking about.
Thank you, Silke. How about who goes next? Oliver?
Yeah, sure.
We'll save Tony for last.
Nice, Tony. I'll make sure I'll keep it brief so you have a few minutes.
I was going to say, just make the bar even higher. See if you can top Silke, because this is already a tough act to follow.
I don't think I can, but I'll give it a shot. So I think holistically is try and look for the ability to find quick wins in your ecosystem, whether it be you or your brand, that deliver incremental uplifting revenue and results. That's what you want to do right now, because that's what keeps the lights on. And if you're not in a position or as a representative of the brand or the CMO, I highly recommend that to speak up, because this requires everyone to think with the company, because these are trying times, and that provides unique opportunities for on a personal level. So I think holistically that is what you want to do in terms of with a nod to the subject of this panel or conference is, I think, three things or a few things across things you want to do right now, you want to nearly do, and you want to do next. Things you want to do right now when it comes to extended reality is, one, add AR advertising to the media plan, and then consider lenses first. They're still an incredible tool and way to, through a mildly branded experience, allow for people to have fun and self-express themselves. I think it has a great tech maturity. It's been using it works very well, as well as it has reached incredible reach. So that's one thing. Start thinking about your asset workflow. You don't want AR to become, or XR to become, an additional constant spend. So rethink that. For any folks here that are part of a product company, web AR is an easy win, and I think an opportunity is there to kind of activate products more than ever. I think it's going to be super powerful. If you don't try and develop new apps, leverage your own existing app, because built on loyalty that you already have. I think it's powerful. And then lastly, things you want to do right now is consider your camera to be the new browser, and how central can the camera or AR can become. See Snap, see TikTok, Instagram, all of those things. Things to nearly do. What does extended reality mean for your business, product or service? Start asking yourself that, and map out some potential pilot, something that Silke mentioned earlier, with clear understanding of how to prove business impact. Because with new technology, you can quickly lose yourself in this rabbit hole of creativity and opportunity that you want to keep it focused and make it part of the customer journey. And then last but not least, things to do next. Become, like I said, camera ready. It's kind of like I like to call it the SEO or SEM for the real world. It's literally the way how people interact with their world around them, and what kind of experience you want to create and unlock as those people interact with your brand. And what's a good idea, which is obvious, is find the PR moment first, because it gets you rewarded, which is awesome, and be aware of technologically bias. And I think that's something that Tony can give a nod to as well. But yeah, that's my take.
All right, thank you, Oliver. Tony.
Well, let's just build on what everyone said. Let's start with the empathy piece of this. I mean, we have to have that right now. Without that, we would be lost as a species, right? There's just too much going on. We need to be sensitive to. That said, I think those of us who are fortunate right now and are building the future, and back to the theme of our session today, are building the future of immersive retail. I think we all share a vision that someday we're going to shop for any physical product, all physical products in 3D with a digital twin. As Oliver said, we absolutely need to be thinking, getting ahead of this and understanding how to build those and deploy those. We should be pursuing this unapologetically and make sure our businesses are even stronger. There are some businesses that may not survive this crisis. There are ones that are going to change irreparably. We can't necessarily fix that by trying to go back to the way things were. That is just an unfortunate reality. So to the extent that we can help build a foundation for anything going forward, we need to pursue that. And we are blessed, we are fortunate that we're working in cool new tech at companies that are taking care of us. Our businesses happen to be doing relatively well. These are all things we should feel blessed by, and of course empathetic to people who are less fortunate. But I think the best thing, in my opinion, the best thing we can do to help people going forward is do our job best and to stay focused on that vision. Someday we're going to be shopping for everything in 3D, and everyone in this discussion here, and I would wager that most people in the audience as well, are going to have a hand in that. So let's stay focused on that.
I completely agree, Tony, with what you just said, and you guys, thank you so much. It really is going to take an effort from many directions. There's going to be trial and error, and there's got to be a sincere desire to move forward and understand that things have changed. And things have changed in the world before, and we survive and we move forward, and this is going to be the same. Now, we do have a couple minutes, so I don't know if anybody in the audience has a question that you want to text us. Let's see.
I've been answering a few midstream, which is a nice feature. That's something you wouldn't do in a live panel at Digital Hollywood. People are asking off to the side, and you can just type in the chat window. So that's been helpful.
I'm going to be very honest. I tried, but I had to wait until after because that multitasking that you have, Tony, is incredible.
It's my ADD. What are you going to do? Lex is asking what our thoughts are about LBE. Hey, Lex. All I can just say, I said it earlier, it's like I don't think anyone's going to be putting a mask on their face anytime soon. So if it involves touching your face, ain't going to happen. Now, they may switch to projection mapping or some other form of immersive content maybe. But that's just going to be reality that shared equipment isn't going to work. So unless we all are carrying a Quest in our backpack to connect to a location-based experience, I don't see how that's going to work, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the fear factor, at least in the coming months, is going to definitely slow down the growth of certain things. Like you said, you're not going to put anything in your face that is not something that you have at home and only you use. So that's definitely something we have to deal with. And it takes us back to the point of we have to start with basics, right? We have to start with communication, enabling commerce, enabling curbside pickups, enabling doctor's visits, trying to remove that face-to-face under 6 feet contact as much as possible. That's really what we need to do. The rest of the stuff, I think, is going to, by trial and error, slowly but surely worked out. And we need to see how to provide new opportunities for a lot of those businesses that have closed. There are new jobs that people can reskill. We recently helped a company that has a program called Skilling America, and is focused on basically the transition and having people say, yeah, these jobs went away, but these new jobs have come up, or these new opportunities to engage in commerce have come up. So let's see. Anything else that anybody wants to add?
Do we have time or not? Because there was one question. Rod put that in the chat box. Curious to see if companies have successfully leveraged mixed reality for servicing aspects of their brand. Those agents that typically work on telephones or in front of monitor to handle a customer service request by using AR, VR, mixed reality instead or in addition. Great question. There is the short answer, and it's again coming back to the theme that you've heard from all of us. It's in increments. So getting the call center virtualized, if it's not already, has been actually more painful for some clients than not. And then now actually the experimentation has started to have monitoring data, visualization to become much more poignant for the service agent. Also chatbots, of course, that help actually either the agent, him or herself, or, deflection of calls. And then this is where I get very excited on the AR/VR principle. See what aspect we can link back into the back end and the supply chain aspect. So yes.
Scarlett's asking about blockchain right now.
Yep.
IBM's all over blockchain, Silke. Do you want to tackle that one? Because I would meander. So do you want to jump in on that?
So, but let's do it real quick because we need to cut it off for the next session. So if you can do the quick.
I'll give the 10 seconds. Thank you for that. It was not a planned plug, but yes, blockchain is actually for food safety aspects and for the provenance of food a big deal in the supply chain area, as well as in many other industries. But supply chain had been already at the forefront. So many of our clients want to know where the food's coming from. Are there interruptions? And it's one area where right now, given the boom in grocery and retail, that has been at the forefront. So a lot of new features have been added that let actually the visibility and the transparency of the supply chain be brought to life through blockchain as a technology.
Well, thank you, Silke. Unfortunately, we run out of time. God, I love talking to you guys. We could talk for another hour. I want to thank you for participating in this panel. I want to thank the audience for your patience with us. The next show, we'll have more stuff to show you, and we hope that you all recover. And great to see you guys. Thank you.
Good to see you all.
Thanks, everyone.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
See you all soon.
Bye.